It started with a tweet, 7 words that sent shockwaves through markets, media, and the highest offices in Washington. This spending bill is a disaster, unsustainable. Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, posted it in the early hours of a Monday morning. Within seconds, his millions of followers were sharing, debating, and dissecting. By noon, the post had been quoted on every major news network, and Tesla's stock had dropped nearly 6%. By the closing bell, it was down 14%. The context was explosive. Just days before, President Donald Trump had signed a multi-trillion-dollar spending package, which many had expected Musk to support. The bill included major infrastructure upgrades, federal incentives for domestic manufacturing, and military expansion. But buried in its fine print were rollbacks on clean energy subsidies and a controversial clause allowing federal oversight over certain AI developments, something Musk had long opposed. Insiders at Tesla reported that Musk had agonized over the tweet for hours. His team had warned him. "You're poking the bear," one advisor said. "He's the president. You don't want to start this war." But Musk had made up his mind. It wasn't just about economics, it was personal. For months, he'd watched the federal government slowly inch toward tightening control over technologies he considered essential to humanity's survival. By the time Trump responded that evening, the tone was unmistakably hostile. Elon Musk is just another billionaire with a bloated ego. Ungrateful for all the taxpayer money we've poured into his companies, he posted on Truth Social. The comment sent shockwaves again, not just through Wall Street, but through political circles. The gloves were off. Cable news lit up with speculation. Was Musk now aligned with the opposition? Was Trump planning to retaliate? Analysts debated what would happen to Tesla's subsidies, and whether federal regulators might now find cause to investigate Musk's sprawling empire. Meanwhile, protesters gathered outside Tesla factories, some supporting Musk's bold stand, others accusing him of destabilizing the economy. In just 24 hours, a single tweet had turned into a national spectacle. The richest man in America had publicly declared ideological war on the most powerful man in the world. And everyone, from shareholders to senators, knew this was just the beginning. The West Wing was tense. President Trump paced the Oval Office, jaw clenched, phone in hand, rereading Elon Musk's tweet for what must have been the 50th time. The room was filled with a mix of advisors, military aides, and legal counsel, all waiting for his next move. "He thinks he can humiliate me and walk away?" Trump growled. "I made Tesla what it is." The president's chief of staff, leaning against the resolute desk, tried to steer the conversation toward strategy. "Mr. President, we can issue a formal statement, criticize the tweet as irresponsible. It'll settle down in a news cycle. Or 2. But Trump wasn't interested in letting it go. To him, Musk's outburst was more than a critique of policy. It was betrayal. Worse, it was public. "Launch a review of EV subsidies. All of them," Trump ordered suddenly. "Especially Tesla's. Let's see how green his factories are when the money dries up." Within the hour, the Department of Energy received quiet instructions to audit all tax credits and subsidies linked to Tesla and SpaceX. Simultaneously, the SEC was looped in for a potential probe into Musk's tweet and its impact on market volatility. Trump also made personal calls to governors in red states where Tesla had major facilities, hinting that cooperation with federal authorities would be remembered in future infrastructure allocations. Behind closed doors, the EI administration crafted a media strategy. The goal: paint Musk as a reckless billionaire out of touch with real American values. Conservative outlets were fed stories about Tesla's factory violations, workers' complaints, and even Musk's past drug use during interviews. Soon, Fox News headlines read, "Can we trust Musk with America's future?" Trump, meanwhile, recorded a statement for Truth Social. Elon Musk got rich off taxpayer dollars and now bites the hand that fed him. He should focus on cars, not politics. The post racked up millions of views within minutes. But even in the halls of power, not everyone agreed. Some aides warned that attacking Musk could backfire, especially among younger voters and innovation-minded conservatives. But Trump dismissed them. This isn't about politics, this is about respect. As night fell over Washington, it became clear that the battle wasn't just rhetorical anymore. Policy was now a weapon. Trump wasn't just defending his ego, he was preparing to dismantle Musk's empire, one federal agency at a time. The mood in Silicon Valley was electric, part anxiety, part determination. In a sleek glass-walled conference room at Tesla headquarters, Elon Musk sat at the head of the table, surrounded by legal advisors, engineers, public relations experts, and executives from his sister companies. The war had begun, and he wasn't about to back down. "This is bigger than Tesla," he said, tapping a stylus against his tablet. "This is about the future of innovation. If they can target me, they can target anyone." The others nodded grimly. The White House had already announced the start of audits on Tesla's federal subsidies, and whispers of an SEC investigation were growing louder. But Musk wasn't just preparing a legal defense, he was building an alliance. Within days, he began reaching out to leaders across the tech sector. Apple's Tim Cook, Alphabet's Sundar Pichai, and even outspoken critics like Mark Zuckerberg were approached. Despite their past rivalries, many recognized the threat Trump posed to the independence of the tech industry. One by one, they agreed to meet behind closed doors in Palo Alto. At the same time, Musk took his message to the public. In a surprise appearance on a live podcast, he declared, "We're entering an age where innovation is being regulated by fear and ego. I won't allow short-term politics to dictate the long-term future of this planet." The interview went viral, with tens of millions of views across platforms in less than 24 hours. Protests erupted outside Tesla factories, not against him, but in support. Employees and environmental activists marched under banners that read, "Stand with Elon," and "Innovation over Intimidation." Cities like San Francisco and Austin passed resolutions in solidarity, warning federal authorities not to abuse regulatory powers for political revenge. Then came the Coalition for Tech Independence, a new alliance of companies, governors, scientists, and advocacy groups committed to resisting government overreach. Funded in part by Musk himself, it launched legal challenges to the audits, demanded congressional hearings, and promised to defend innovation in courts and in public discourse. While the White House tried to discredit him, Musk was evolving from a tech entrepreneur into a political force. In the echo chambers of Washington, that transformation didn't go unnoticed. What began as a feud was morphing into a movement. The question now was not whether Musk would fight back, but how far he was willing to go. The breaking point came when protests outside Tesla's Nevada Gigafactory swelled into the thousands. What had started as peaceful gatherings turned into nightly standoffs with local law enforcement. Chants of "Hands off our future" echoed across industrial parks, while American flags flew side by side with placards reading, "Tech is freedom." For President Trump, it was the perfect storm: civil unrest, media attention, and a billionaire adversary gaining momentum by the hour. On June 3rd, in a dramatic midday press conference, President Trump announced the deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops to maintain peace and protect American infrastructure from coordinated disruption. Though he didn't mention Musk by name, the implication was clear. Tesla's operations had become the epicenter of what Trump called tech-fueled anarchy. He claimed the protests were endangering interstate commerce and hinted at foreign interests backing the movement, a vague but ominous assertion. The backlash was immediate. Governors from California, Nevada, and Colorado publicly refused to authorize the Guard deployment, calling it a gross misuse of federal power. "This isn't law enforcement, it's intimidation," said Governor Newsom. But Trump bypassed their consent by invoking a rarely used clause of the Insurrection Act, claiming national security was at risk. Armed military vehicles began appearing outside gigafactories in Reno and Fremont. Musk responded with a thunderous statement on X, formerly Twitter. "The military is being used to suppress peaceful dissent and innovation. This is not democracy. This is fear-driven authoritarianism. His post garnered over 80 million views in under 3 hours and was shared by politicians, celebrities, and international observers alike. The United Nations Human Rights Council issued a cautious statement urging the U.S. government to respect civil liberties amid rising tensions. Tesla workers began to report intimidation. Drones hovered above parking lots. Uniformed guards questioned employees about their social media posts. Production slowed as morale dipped and fear grew. Several executives quietly relocated their families out of state. Behind the scenes, Musk ordered his legal team to prepare for a full-blown constitutional battle. Simultaneously, he began accelerating plans to shift parts of Tesla's operations overseas. Early discussions emerged with India and Canada for expanded factory deals. What was once a power struggle between two men had become a flashpoint for national debate. The deployment of the National Guard was not just an escalation, it was a declaration. In Trump's eyes, Musk had stopped being a citizen. He was now a threat. As the dust settled over the tense standoff between federal forces and Tesla supporters, a new front quietly opened in Washington: impeachment. What had begun as political theater was evolving into something historic. A bipartisan group of lawmakers, concerned by what they called abuse of executive power in the use of the National Guard against private industry, introduced a resolution to investigate President Trump for constitutional violations. Elon Musk, long hesitant to enter the heart of American politics, suddenly found himself at the center of a movement he never intended to lead. Behind closed doors, Musk held confidential meetings with senators from both parties, voicing his concerns not just about his own companies, but about the growing pattern of retaliation and control. "If they can send troops to a factory over a tweet, what's next?" he reportedly told one senator. His words struck a chord. The mood on Capitol Hill shifted. What some had initially dismissed as a personal feud was now viewed as a serious crisis of governance. At the same time, Musk took his battle global. In a live-streamed presentation from a SpaceX facility, he announced a strategic pivot. Tesla would accelerate construction of its factories in India and Canada and consider spinning off its AI division into a neutral international entity. The audience was global. Millions tuned in as Musk made the case that innovation should not be subject to political vendettas. "No one government should hold the future hostage," he declared. In response, the White House lashed out. Trump called Musk a traitor to American workers, claiming that moving factories abroad was proof of disloyalty. But the damage had already been done. Public sentiment had shifted. Polls showed a growing number of Americans believed the president had gone too far. The media began labeling it Techgate, and whistleblowers within federal agencies leaked documents suggesting the audits against Tesla had indeed been politically motivated. One senior official at the Department of Energy resigned, releasing a scathing letter accusing the administration of turning regulatory agencies into weapons. Impeachment proceedings officially began 3 weeks after the National Guard deployment. Though the outcome remained uncertain, the stakes had never been higher. In the span of just 2 months, a policy disagreement had exploded into a constitutional crisis. Musk, once merely a CEO, had become a symbol of resistance, of innovation, and for some, of rebellion. Whether hero or villain, he was no longer just building rockets and cars. He was reshaping the country.